Sometimes, when it is good for the nation, you can go against your family. But then, is this recording for the good of the? Is this recording good for the nation? No. This recording is good for the race. This recording is that I'm standing with my race, the Negro race. And is it bad for the family? No, it is not even bad for the family, because I'm recording about my sister, and I want you to look at the way she treated our late father, and ask yourself, am I against the family, or am I standing for the family? Well, I'm standing for the family. It is really bad the way she treated our father without his knowledge, kumpumbaza. I want to come out publicly. That was very bad. It is enough to annoy any person. But also, it is even bad for her to have turned against her country, Kenya, and her race, the black person, in Germany, for her to make millions. And even after she had made millions, it is really bad to see how she spent the millions on the very, very subject. She maligns our father, gets millions, flies to Kenya, and then anapumbaza baba na hizo millions which she made. If she would have made millions through any other way, it would be okay. But imagine somebody maligning you, and I'm talking this, many of you may not approve what I'm doing. But those who are in Germany, or those who have stayed in Germany, will really understand, and they'll really support me. And they must have been wondering what the immediate family feels about it. Of course, they do not know that after Germans have bought that book with with millions, they are not aware of how she uses that money. You have to understand evil. As for those with the relatives or people they know who stay in Germany, please contact them. Listen to them, because you know the person who stays in Germany. Ask them what the book she has written. Ask them how they personally feel about that book. Now your reaction should be this: you are what you are. Then you have a relative. Could it be a John or Jane? Now go to that person you know, either a relative or somebody you know who is a Kenyan or an African who lives or has lived in Germany, who understands German language, who understands German culture, who understands how Germans took that book, and ask that very same person how he or she felt when the book came out. How she felt. Now it is not about me and my sister or anything. It is about you and that relative of yours or friend or acquaintance who was in Germany, who was castigated, who was told, you Africans, you are this and this. Now, you react like somebody who is related to that person, or you react as somebody who has lived in Germany, whose race, the black skin, has been castigated because of this stupid person without any academic qualification. Maybe when she lived in Germany, she got, but I know she has a primary school CPE, the former CPE of Standard 7. She has that certificate where, you know, it is funny. Because if you go to a non-African country, with a CP written Lando Huatenge, you see nobody will know whether it is a male gender who has that certificate or whatever. And if your second name is Huatenge, so maybe you may use that one to get other certificates in German. I don't know, maybe. Let us start this way. You know, there are so many points to start, but let me start this way. She wrote a book. She wrote a book in Germany. I don't read Germany. Actually, she approached a certain German journalist lady. So she told that German lady, and I remembered this, and this is why I'm reacting now, because there's a journalist who has wanted to write, who is reading my manuscript. So I remembered my sister has also written a book through a ghostwriter. A ghostwriter is a journalist who takes your story and then anaitengeneza the way it is supposed to be. So there was a German lady whom she acquired the services she wrote, and then the book was a best-selling. It was a best-selling because Germans are very hard-working people. Remember, 2 world wars, they were finished and they started from scratch and they became superpowers. But one thing, Germans are racist. They are racist, they hate other races, especially black. And they openly, if you have been in South Africa during apartheid, then you have not seen anything. German racism is worse than the South African apartheid. So she wrote and she said that okay, my father is somebody, you'll read it about it in the book in a soft way, because we have to tell the truth, and you'll understand after reading my book. But my father was a sadist by nature. But the way she wrote about my father was in a very negative way. I remember Sunday Nation was asking me about my father's sadist past, and if you can read the Sunday Nation, you'll see I was very clever to go past that issue. I did it in 3 ways. One, because the police spokesman Kiraithe had talked about my father's character, and I told the Sunday Nation is that my father's character is not relevant to what I was talking to the nation. One, and it is my character which was relevant. But even in law, even a madman sometimes is given, can give evidence in a court of law, because the madman has to understand the nature of what is being asked, and he has to explain things which can assist the court to come. So if the police force has to question character, they have to question me, not my father. If you read that Sunday Nation, you'll see that. And I even said that my father approved me joining the intelligence. So my father is... you'll find that when the nation was attacking the Kenya police, Kiraithe, who was the police spokesman, used that opportunity to talk about my father. But me and the Nation Media Group, we said that our father is not relevant. They even said, you know, Huatenge, when he was still in the police force, he was a drunkard. I said, by the time I was telling the nation, I had long ago stopped taking alcohol. And even the drinking may have been out of frustration, such and such a thing. I'm trying to say that, yes, my father has had a dark past. But you see, I want you to see the way my sister used that, or even misused. So she said that our father was a sadist. Alitesa yeye, alifanya nini, alifunga yeye jela. Our father was a sadist. He punished her, he did what? Refused to educate her, took her to jail, and so on and so forth. Well, there's nothing wrong with writing that, but you see, Germans used that not just to turn against Kenyans, but to turn any Negro, any black skin. And even People of my age, remember we used to be told that if we make a lot of noise, Kengangi will be called and come and eat it us. So we used to be quiet that way. And German even started telling their children, be quiet or we take you to Africa to face Lando. And it happened that, of course, her character, her character has now been known by even the Germans themselves, but it is also good for us to know that. Now, let me tell the truth of what happened. She was a problem starting from day one, and I said our father is not an angel, was not an angel. She was a problem. She attended her standard 7, did her CPE in Kajiado AIC Girls. Kajiado AIC Girls is a very famous school which rescues girls from asylum. And the funny thing, if you ask her today, what did you get in CPE? She doesn't know. And if you ask her, which schools did you choose? You know, during our time, standard 7, you were told to choose 3 schools. First choice, second choice, third choice. You ask her to mention the 3 schools that she chose for Form 1. She cannot remember. And you know, these days, nowadays, if a student does an exam, you just send an SMS for 20 shillings, you get all the particulars and whatever. Those days, you had to remember the schools that you chose, and then you had to go to the notice board there to check on the schools that you chose if you are taken there. By the time she completed her primary, she didn't even know the school she had chosen. Then our dad took her to a private tuition place in town, Nairobi, which was called Devonshire College. Now, Devonshire College, after a month or so, people approached my father and said, why don't you take your daughter to a place where she can start learning this tailoring or whatever? Because the college had 5 members of staff. There was the head teacher. Those days, private schools, head teachers used to call themselves principals. But in government, principals were for TTCs, colleges, and so on. Secondary schools up to Form 6, the head teacher used to be called head teacher, headmaster, or headmistress. But here was the principal. Here was the bazaar. Here were the 2 watchmen. And around 3 teachers, around 3 teachers who were Form 4 failures, Division 4. Now, somebody who has failed a Form 4 exam is supposed to teach somebody to pass the Form 4 exam. It is like somebody going to Form 1 in a private school where the teachers are D- if you have to use 844 system. So somebody came and told our dad that instead of your daughter wasting time there, why don't you take her? And you see, those are the days when many parents were contented with their girls reaching primary. They would say, after all, she'll get married. But my father, one day, he used to work with the railway police. So one day he went to Kisumu on official duty. And on the way back, he passed through Kaimosi. He went to Friends School, Kaimosi Girls. By then it was just Kaimosi Girls. He went to the office with the uniform, police uniform, saluted the head teacher there. Nowadays they are called principals. Saluted Madam Head Teacher and begged. And you imagine, superintendent those days, superintendent was the county police commander. So there were not more than 60 superintendents in Kenya. And here she was, somebody saluting her, please accept my daughter. You know, there are those students who went to Form 1 and dropped and whatever. There are those who were called and never. And that is where head teachers used to get money. You get a child that has not passed well, and you want your child to join a certain school, a privileged school. Those students who cannot go there because they don't want, or the parents cannot afford the fees, or some even got married after primary. the head teachers used to sell those positions. My father never bought the position. He only had to go there in full uniform, salute as if he was saluting the Inspector General. Then the head teacher accepted my sister to join second term. Those used to be called second selection. Second selection. So she was taken to second term in Kaimosi Girls. Nowadays it's called French School Kaimosi Girls. If you look at the alumni of Kaimosi Girls, wow. Butere Girls, Kaimosi, those are premier, especially those days. They are still premier, but I'm talking of those days. Nationally, we used to have Alliance Girls, but Western, Kaimosi Girls was up there. Then she went there for second term, Form 1. Third term, Form 1, she fought at a place called Cheptulu. How she sneaked out of school, nobody knows. There is a girl who had completed Form 4 that year, fought with her over a teacher, a male teacher of Kaimosi Girls, nowadays called French School Kaimosi Girls. And since the Form 4 girl had completed school, it was after she had done her Form 4, that was third term, Form 1, and they fought in a bar over a male teacher. My sister was expelled from Kaimosi Girls. Now those days, I don't know about nowadays, those days, if you are expelled from a government school, getting a position in another government school was impossible. Just impossible. Even if you are admitted in Alliance Girls or Alliance Boys, and then you are expelled in Alliance, and then you are taken to those, we used to have some government school called Harambe. Maybe even you apply for, even at Harambe, so long as it is a government school, you not be admitted. So Dad, after she had completed Form 1, having been expelled from Kaimosi Girls, fighting over a male teacher with a girl who had just completed Form 4, my father went and had her, there's a school in the CBD next to Ronald Ngala post office, a school called SSD. SSD is a, but those days, SSD was a useless school. Now, being taken out of Kaimosi Girls and joining SSD, maybe even a clever person would have requested to go back to primary and try her luck so that she goes to a good school. But anyway, she was admitted in SSD because Dad just wanted her to go and sit for her O levels, Form 4. Then she started studying at SSD. Those days, SSD was so much useless. We had even a school called Pan-Afric, which was between Coffee House and Central Bus Station, a school where, believe it or not, there's a Luhya bar there, I don't know, called Beer Pot. And then there was a secondary school on top of it. So when they play jukebox, in the bar, the students are being taught up. That was a boys' school, but SSD was also a girls' school associated with the Hindu church or something. But people used to call it silly, stupid donkey, because a person who got best after the results were out, a person who used to do well used to get a strong Division 4. Imagine a school where the leading student gets a D+, Delta D+. So she went to that school, and you know what happened? We used to stay just not very far from this Methodist guest house. Bwana, sisi ni by my dynasties. We used to stay just next to Methodist guest house, and whenever we used to, our younger brothers were at a school of, this school used to be a primary school. Now it is a secondary school. It used to be called Moranga Road Primary School. So this driver called police constable driver, Charles Onyancha. Charles Onyancha, I'm forgetting the third name. He used to drive us past Kenya High School, past Chiromo. We take that route there, past museum. We go to Moranga Road Primary School. Our brothers would alight there. Then he would take us to Nairobi Technical. Nairobi Technical, you can see where it is, Karioko. Then from there, he would go and drop our sister last at SSD. And Dad used to work at the railway police at the railway station. So those people who take Matatu to Kibera and Langata, you know that place. So we used to think that he would go that circular way, but he had plans with my sister. So one day, a lady approached my father. She went to the office of my father, told my father that ambia mtoto wako asiniharibie nyumba. My father was confused. You see, he had two daughters. One was already married somewhere in Kakamega, and the other one was a Form 2 student at SSD. So who is this lady saying that my daughter is spoiling her? And one thing led to another. The lady entered my father's vehicle and they went to Makongeni police lines. They found my sister in it was around 11, approaching noon. My sister was in full uniform of SSD and she was washing clothing belonging to my father's driver. That day the driver was transferred to I don't know where. I met him very many years later when he was at Awendo police station, but he was transferred immediately. My sister was taken with the uniform, placed in Makongeni police cells, taken to a children's court where she was charged with escaping from school, and the children's court sentenced her to an approved school, Kabete. Is it Kirigiti? Yeah. Well, I've never been there, but Kirigiti, where she ran away and went to Mombasa, and that is where, from being a beach girl, she ended up in Germany. Now, for those who have read her book, those who have known her story, you can now compare that with that. I want to say two things in summary as I finish. One thing is my father was just another one. If you can see police spokesman trying to defray my story and trying to say, you see the father, whatever, he was another one. But even though he was another one, my father was a strict person who liked education, and he would go to imagine Form 1 and Form 2, somebody going to 3 different places: Devonshire College, Kaiposi Girls, SSD, and even stopping at SSD was because of that. Now, my sister wrote that book, Castigating Father. And since German are people who are racist, they bought that book a lot. Gave her a lot of gave her millions. She took, and she would tell people that she would never, ever come near her father, and she would only go to where father is when his grave has grown grass. When his grave has grown grass. When she got that money, she took a flight home. You can see her seated with a Coca-Cola. Now, kupumbaza baba. Okay, you can write anything, you can do anything. I can talk things bad about you, whatever. I've even done that on YouTube. We have differed with somebody. But then, after we mend fences, just go. Why don't she go and tell Mzee that hiyo soda unakunywa, hiyo Coca-Cola, it is money that I got maligning you. You know, it is good also to tell somebody, mnasameheana, so that hata akikula hiyo pesa. But you see, Dad died even without knowing that he had been maligned. And she would come, acha nichekeshe we. She went to her house, to Mzee's house, sitting room, bought two flat screen TV, 14-inch each. Placed one on one side, one end, and placed the other one on the other end. and told Dad, you see, you can watch 2 TVs, you can watch 4 newspapers, you can watch four news items at a go. At 7 p.m. you can watch station 1 and 2, and at 9 p.m. you can watch 3 and 4. So that by the time you go to sleep, you have watched 4 different TV channels. What a shame. I felt that I should tell people. And why now? It may have been too late because my dad died 3 years ago. It may be too late I didn't tell Kenyans. There is also the art of timing. The art of timing came when it was the day before yesterday when the publisher told me that by the end of April we are going to have a sit down to discuss the way forward, because he has gone through my manuscript. And yes, I've talked something about my father, but you can see I talked not out of malice. My sister, and you see how evil genius she is. She makes millions of money, then goes and anapembeleza mzee. And Luhya parents are that way. Luhya parents listen to the children who give them more money than. Sasa I'm just there unemployed after being sacked from the police, broke all the time, and she comes out with the money that she had maligned our father, and then gives the father that name, and then the father, even if he blesses you, I can assure you, that is a fake blessing, a wrong blessing, and it will not work. Blessing, a parent blesses the child, or even a parent curses the child. But if the blessing and cursing comes through a non-justified means, then it doesn't work.